Welcome to Monster Monday. So let's get this franchise over with because, damn, man, it ends really, really poorly. I went into this movie completely open. I've seen it before, and my memory of it was like, wow, that was a huge disappointment for a final chapter in some big horror movie franchise where they brought back all the original people and I was like, all right, you know what? I know it has a really ultra low budget. I'll look past that. I'll just look at the story. I'll just look at those things and we'll see what we're left with here. So let's talk about Phantasm or RaVager, which I always do like when they put the, you know, Roman numeral as one of the letters in the word. I think that's really cool. They did it with Oblivion, obviously. They did it with this one. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot positive to say about this one. I really, really did try, though. I really did. And I struggled so much with this one. Okay, so as I said, I looked past the budget stuff. I looked past the terrible CGI, the green screen, stuff like that. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to look past it. So I'm not even going to really talk about it here at all. So, if you weren't confused by this point, up until this film, and you thought maybe this would clear anything up, I guess in a way, you could look at it as the very definite answer that Reggie is completely delusional and has imagined all of this while sitting in an old folks' home with dementia. Now, I personally would have thought they would have went with schizophrenia, maybe like late onset schizophrenia or something. But no, they went with dementia. Okay, I guess. So I guess that's the strongest, most definitive answer you're going to get, is that he just imagined all of this. Now they get into, Mike says something about dimensions and there's thousands and thousands of them. All this. Now I'm on that one. I like the idea that every time they die, every time they do something wrong or whatever, they then leave this dimension and go into another one. So it's just like never-ending lives over and over and over and over again, and they kind of just have to keep fighting this battle forever. I'm okay with that. And with the ending of this movie, I guess that could also work. But this film doesn't even attempt to try to explain anything, really. I feel like it just poses more questions, and it's really not a very... It's hard because with this franchise, I feel like I would say almost the exact same thing for all of them, except for the quality of them drops exponentially from entry to entry. No, that's not true. I ended up liking Oblivion the most of the sequels. I'm thinking of my old mindset on the franchise. But I guess now I like Oblivion. But honestly, I'm not a big fan of the sequels to this franchise very much. I think the first one is really cool, has this very odd tone, and every sequel after just feels unnecessary to me. Because they're so fucking confusing, and I don't find them super interesting. Even though the fourth one I liked the most, I still was like, was that a story that I really needed to know? Was that a story that was really that intriguing? Was that a story that furthered along the mythos and the lore of this and expanded my understanding or posed new interesting questions? Not really. I mean, there are some, but not enough. And nothing's climatic enough for me. Nothing is all that, satisfying. So yeah, this franchise for me, having now gone back and rewatched it one after the other over 5 weeks, well 6 because I took a week off to go to California, I can honestly say this is not a very good series for me. Now, other people, of course, there's Phantasm fanatics out there, or Phantasms, right? Or some, I'm sure they have some name like that. That's awesome. I mean, of course, I always say that stuff, but for me, this is not a very good series. I could do with the first one and pretty much throw the rest away, for the most part. Anyway, all right. Dawn comes into the movie as his love interest in the film, and of course she's like half his age. She's like 30 or something. They can't just, he can't meet a chick that's around his age within his league so that he can get turned down yet again. This is becoming the cruel joke of Reggie's character. And even to add insult to injury, she turns him down, so he goes to bed thinking she turned him down yet again, and while he's asleep, Dawn comes downstairs to offer herself to him, or at least to lay next to him. We don't know if she's going to give him sex. You can only imagine that is what she's thinking, but, maybe she just wants to cuddle. Maybe she just needs a man next to her in bed. Whatever it is, Reggie misses out on this. Or does he? Because we don't know. Dawn dies here, but then she comes back as June, I think is the name that she comes back as. So Reggie always comes back as Reggie if the dimensional thing is correct here. Mike always comes back as Mike. Jody always comes back as Jody, but Jody comes back in different forms. One time he's a ball, the other time he's just a regular dude. Who knows? But then Dawn dies and she becomes June. So there's like no consistency to it to be like, oh, well, that's definitely what happens when you die. You just go to the next dimension. Okay, if that's the case, then where are all the other characters, too, that died? Where are they? And why, when some of them died, do they come back as different people? I don't fucking know. I don't know. So, but yeah, in this movie, oh my God, the amount of times it jumps from one story to the next, one timeline or whatever it is to the next, where Reggie's in the retirement home, and then he's also back in the war, and back and forth, which could work, and it's fine if they're kind of mirroring each other, which it does try to play off like that. But there is a moment too, like where Mike's talking, and he's like, Reggie, I had a dream, and it was just like this, and then it just hard cuts to the alternate reality Mike, or the alternate reality Mike is the one in the old folks home, whichever, don't know, but like hard cuts to him, and he's just talking about how the world is now in that moment. So it's like they're kind of starting to blend together. The dimensions are crossing over into one another, and then when Mike appears in the lawn and he like throws Reggie a machine gun or something, or no, the shotgun, I'm sorry, he throws him the quad barrel shotgun. He turns around and the doctors turn into those diggers, or I forget what the hell they call them in the third one. I think that's the same guys. But is that like the world's finally blending together? Like maybe now that the tall man has dominated many worlds, then he's starting to collapse dimensions on top of each other, and the realities are bleeding through, and all the different timelines of Reggie's past are starting to come together. Am I giving too much credit here? Is that even close? I don't. Oh man, who knows? I like that the tall man's in bed next to him, and he refers to himself as Jebediah. But then that doesn't really make any sense, because that ends up being a dream sequence, because when he looks under his bed, there's some like woman creature that's body melded to the tall man's hand, and she says something creepy, and then he wakes up from his dream. So it's like a dream within a dream, and then it's dimensions within other dimensions, and then it's like he's crazy, but then he's not, or he's been asleep. So he's like been comatose, and his brain has been kept docile by two, freaking rods that, do this. And so when he wakes up, it's like, oh no, you've just been under mind control, and you've been out for years, and the world has died around you. And in the opening, it's something else. And so you got like I don't know how many storylines going on here, and you're just like, okay, so pretty much none of it's just going to make sense. That's really what you guys are going for here. You can pick pretty much any explanation you want, and that's the explanation. Sure, why not? Because I don't think there is a definitive answer. I just don't. Like Don Coscarelli is how he says his name. I'm sure he... Actually, I'm not sure he has any idea. I really don't. I don't. I think he would tell you he did. And then I'd be like, really? Explain it. And he'd be like, well, that's for you to figure out. I'm not going to tell you. Or maybe he has something online where he explains it and I'm a total idiot. That's fine. We get to see a sphere kill a horse in this. I thought that was pretty cool. Just because I don't think we've ever seen it hit an animal. It's always a human. Reggie drives around with loose hand grenades in his trunk. Also, I think there's like the end of a rocket sitting back there as well. And then he goes back there and he gets all loaded up like Commando and throws it all in the bag. And it's like, if that was the plan, why wasn't it already all in the... Why wouldn't it already be packed together like that? Why would everything just be loose back there? As much as he drives around, everything's just laid out perfectly. It's all separated from one another. So stupid. I'm guessing the guy who stole his car in the beginning never checked the glove box, didn't check the trunk, didn't check anything. But he's been driving around in it for hours, days, who knows. I did like when he ran him over, though, when he was in the road. Demeter, played by Daniel Roebuck. I always love seeing Daniel Roebuck from River's Edge. He knows zero English, even though he's lived in the country forever. Okay. I mean, there's things in here that make way less sense than that, so no big deal. We got giant spheres in this now that have like lasers shooting out of them. We have scenes that kind of resemble post-Judgment Day Terminator world. The lady from the original movie, the one that the tall man turns into so he can fuck men, I mean, that's probably why he wants Mike so bad. He's like, all right, I fucked Jody. I fucked whatever the dude's name is in the first one. He never fucked Reggie, but nobody fucks Reggie, right? He's like, even if I'm a chick, man, I'm not fucking Reggie. Nobody fucks Reggie. He's like, I gotta get the matching set, man. I gotta get the brothers. I gotta get Mike and Jody. So he's that's what he wants. He wants to turn into the chick and lay down with Mike. But yeah, she returns and she looks fantastic. I mean, this movie's got to be 40 fucking years later. And I was like, damn. Immediately, I was like, that's her. Like, it looks so much like her when she was in her 20s in the first one. I mean, yeah, she don't look like she's in her 20s, but it was instantly like, holy shit. Like, that's her for sure. Like, the outfit's the same, the hair's the same. Of course, they tried to make her look like the other, but her body looks great. Her face looks great. Incredible. She definitely aged extremely well. So is that the tall man coming towards him in that moment? It's a cool moment. I really like that scene actually a whole lot, where she's like coming at him and it's cool to see her, and then she goes all evil, like a Deadite from Evil Dead or something. That looks good. She gets shot through the eyes. Good scene. Probably my only scene I actually liked in the movie. And then the little midgets come back and Reggie unloads like a full Uzi into one of them, and it's like, you might want to, conserve some ammo there, Reggie. You should know better than that. Dawn is Jane. Did I say Jane or did I say June? I think I said June. Jane. Okay, sorry. Jane. Now Mike is real and alive in the world. So Mike was in the dementia world, but then in the other world, Mike had died. He'd been taken, the sphere ball thing got in his head, and then at the end of 4, he was gone, but now at the end of 5, he's back, and he's fighting alongside him. He's like, Reggie, I've been looking for you. What? Nothing makes any sense. And then Jody's just back. Jody's just alive again. So this is just his fantasy. I mean, that's the only thing that makes any sense. This is a dude with dementia. and he's fighting the good fight. And even after death, in his afterlife, he's still continuing the fight with his colleagues there. So I think it really is the only explanation. I like how the tall man is like, oh, there's thousands of me. There's hundreds of thousands of me. And then the little dude that's with them grabs a bunch of grenades from his jacket and runs at him, and it blows him up with the tall man. And it's like, did you not just hear? Like, he said there's 100,000 of him. Killing one of him? You're going to sacrifice your life to kill the one in front of you literally 10 seconds after he said there's thousands of me. Like, as soon as I die, I'll be replaced by another and another and another forever. And the guy's like, I'll handle this. And he like runs over and kills himself. But then we find out at the very, very end, he didn't kill himself. He just blew up his hand. The grenades were attached to his chest and his stomach and all around his torso. And he ran over and gave the tall man a little bear hug. Like a little mini bear hug. Like a leg hug. But it just blew up his hand and put some black on his face. Makes no sense. Jodie's driving around in a battle CUDA, so they've got this thing all souped up. And it's always good to see them back together when they're in the car together. It's like, oh yeah, there's all the guys back together. And then it cuts to like Reggie dying at the end, and Jodie and Mike are there to hold his hand. So I guess they outlive him, even though they've died multiple times in the franchise. Reggie's the only one that really hasn't died. But Reggie's the one that dies, and then, you know, it's like, it's over, and it ends. And when it ended, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? It's over? Okay. It was like an hour and 15 minutes. And it was so abrupt, and I was like, oh, that's the end. Interesting. And then it has a after post-credit sequence, and Rocky returns, and it was like, oh, it would have been cool to see Rocky, like, more in the film. But obviously this was probably a last minute thing or something, because Rocky is in no scene with any of the original three guys. Like, they edit it together so it looks like she's getting in the car with Reggie, and of course with Mike and Jodie in the front seat, but she's not in that scene. Like, that was just edited that way. She was not in any actual frame. She's not actually talking to anyone in there. So was this a last minute idea? And then they're just driving back into the city for what? Like, the whole world has been blown up. What are they trying to save at this point? Like, I'd be driving anywhere else. They're like, oh, we should go somewhere cold. The tall man hates the cold. And then they're driving straight into the city again to fight the orbs or the spheres or the... Guys, I think that a person who is a fan of this movie is just a, like, diehard of the franchise and is like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I got a new story. I got some more Tall Man. I got some more Reggie. I got some more Mike. I got some more Jodie. I got some more Rocky. I got to see the chick from the first one. So if, like, it's kind of like a nostalgia thing. It's kind of, you know, a fanaticism, sycophant of the franchise, I suppose. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not hating on that. There's definitely entries and franchises that I have a higher opinion of because they're in a franchise I like. Like, maybe like a Halloween 5 or something, where I can, like, distance myself and be like, movie's really bad. Like, in a lot of ways. But there's so much I like about it, and because it's attached to the Halloween franchise, it's like it just gets a pass. I'm like, you know. But then I don't know. But then I look at, like, H2O or Resurrection. I don't think this is as bad as Resurrection per se, but it's as bad as H2O to me. Now, a lot of people like H2O, so that's a bad comparison for a lot of people. But for me, like, when I look at those kinds of movies, even as a huge fan of Halloween, the Halloween franchise, I fucking hate those movies. I fucking hate those movies. So, but there are people who like them just because it's the Halloween franchise. So, I don't know. But I don't see much to like in this one. Even if I look past the budget, even if I look past all that stuff, I just don't understand what the movie's trying to say. Kind of reminds me of that Buffy episode, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode, where Buffy's in a mental institution and they're trying to tell her that she's imagined this whole thing and all this, and it's a great episode. It's like, oh wow. And it always made me wonder after I'd finished season 7. Like, I was like, I don't know, man, was that episode legit? Like, is that really just was in her head the whole damn time? It's a good explanation. Not one that you really love, but, you know, makes sense, right? So there you go. The Phantasm series has come to a finish. So I got this at Big Lots for $3, and I'm glad I did not pay any more money for it than that. So another franchise down. I always love covering franchises on the channel. I absolutely love doing it. So plenty more to go. I think people are like, oh, Jason's running out of franchises. Fuck off. Not even close. There's literally hundreds of franchises, not even in horror. So if I if I dive outside of horror, fucking forget it. Then I can do series all day, every day for the rest of my fucking life, and I'd never do all of them. So I haven't even done like Die Hards or Lethal Weapons or Star Wars, for fuck's sake, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, all that stuff. I mean, there's so much I could do. It's crazy. But even in the horror franchise, shit, man, I could think of 15, 20 off the top of my head right now that I'd love to do. So we'll get to plenty of them. And other than that, guys, see you next week. Adios.